I am currently expecting my third baby. I am now my 24th week and this is my first update. And the reason this is my first update is because sadly in December 2017 I had a stillbirth. I lost my daughter Primrose at 34 weeks plus 4 and it was a complete and utter shock. We had no idea. There was no like looming problems in the pregnancy or anything like that. It was just spontaneous labour at 34 plus 4 weeks. And by that point when we went to hospital it was too little too late to save her. We do know the reasons as to why she passed away, but as yet I'm not disclosing that information because we still have an investigation ongoing. But the reason I'm here today is because I'm now 24 weeks pregnant with a surprise pregnancy. Oh, that's so hard to get all of that out. Yeah. I found out I was pregnant just 8 weeks after giving birth to Prim, so you can imagine how horrendously scary, overwhelming, how the timings were really, you know, unhelpful, because at that point when I found out I was pregnant we hadn't even discussed having any more children. I didn't know if I could ever do it again. I'd said up to that point, you know, I never want to have a baby again. I could never do that again. I never want to feel what I'm feeling ever again. And it turns out I was, you know, pregnant. And that was a lot to take in. It took a long time to let that sink in, and even now at 24 weeks sometimes it doesn't feel real. And it's very hard to deal with because I'm completely grieving for Prim, who should be here and who I should be looking after now, and then I'm also growing another baby because of the fact that Prim isn't here. This baby wouldn't be in my tummy now if Primrose would have been here. Very hopeful and trying to keep strong that this baby is going to come home with us. I'm not sure why I haven't filmed sooner in this pregnancy. I think it's just because it's been so hard to face the camera and to talk about another pregnancy on camera, because, you know, I recorded all the early weeks pregnant with Prim, and it's just, it makes it so much more real that Primrose isn't here. So yeah, I haven't been strong enough to film the first few weeks of pregnancy, and I'm just taking the chance to sit down now and film something. But I really want to document this journey because this baby means the world, and we need this baby to come, because if it doesn't and we lose this baby, I just dread to imagine. So I need to capture these moments like I did with Prim, because those videos mean the world to us now, and they're very important. So whether or not this pregnancy continues successfully and we bring the baby home, we'll have the memories. So yeah, I guess I should start from the very beginning. We found out, you know, early on, like we have done the rest. I just had this weird feeling that something wasn't right. Like I said, we didn't try to get pregnant. We were so in the midst of grief that another baby just hadn't even entered our heads. Just didn't even process that far. But basically I felt something wasn't right, so I decided to take a test, and it came back with the slightest line, little line. That's what we called the pregnancy in the first couple of weeks. And I was like, is that a line? Like, you'll see my reaction video to finding out I was pregnant. I'm sure you've seen that already. If you haven't, I'll leave it down below. But I could not believe it. I was so overwhelmed. Yeah, I was in shock. And then I think I took about 6 to 10 more pregnancy tests, and I was just in a panic. I just couldn't believe it. Like, another baby just wasn't... I still can't go over it now. It's hard to talk about. I've documented the first trimester on my phone, so I'll just go through some of the things that, you know, I felt and was feeling, and symptoms, things like that. At the moment, at 24 weeks, I've got heartburn. But tracking back, sickness, nowhere near as sick as I was with Penny or Primrose at all, and things started to get better from about 10 weeks, which is really early. With Penny, sickness didn't die down till about, you know, 12 weeks, 12, 13 weeks, and with Prim, I was still being sick dozens of times a day at 16 weeks, and it sort of settled down from that point. I had no bleeding, which is something, if you've watched my previous pregnancy updates, you know, things from my previous losses, because I've had 3 early miscarriages as well, you'll know that in every pregnancy I've ever had, this is my 6th pregnancy, and 5 pregnancies I've bled in every single one. With my daughter Penny, who's now 4, with Primrose throughout basically the entire pregnancy, and with my 3 losses, I bled in every single one. In this pregnancy, I've not had one single smidge of bleeding, and that for me felt abnormal because I'm not used to that. So this pregnancy I was concerned. I thought, God, is this normal? Because that wasn't normal for me. Really, really sore nipples. That's probably the most telltale sign for me if I'm pregnant. Really itchy. They were feeling more full and just generally really, really freaking sore. And my most notable symptom, even now at this point in the 2nd trimester, when you're supposed to have your energy boom, even the 1st trimester, I have just been so exhausted, like completely exhausted, more so than, again, any other pregnancy that I've ever had. That's, you know, the sickness was nothing compared to how tired I've been, and that's, again, really weird for me. I'd wake up and I'd still feel like I haven't had a night's sleep. I'd need to go to sleep again. Well, obviously can't do that because I've got Penny, but I would feel like I just would need another full night's sleep. In the first early weeks, I really, really wanted fish, any kind of fish. Obviously, I know my limits and know you're only allowed a certain amount during the week, but I really wanted it all the time, and I looked so forward to my next portion. Lots of anxiety, wondering if this pregnancy was gonna, you know, be successful, how far I would get in it, because obviously we've had early losses and we've had, you know, a late term loss as well in the 3rd trimester. So the early weeks were very scary. We had, thankfully, really, really lovely people working with us in the early pregnancy unit who said, you know, we'll give you a scan when and if you need it, whenever. And I think we went every 2 weeks. So we had one at 8 weeks, 10 weeks and 12 weeks. And baby was looking absolutely amazing in each scan. Yeah, I think the first time I saw the baby, I cried because I just couldn't believe, oh sorry my phone, I just couldn't believe that there was another baby in my tummy. It felt like I just didn't know if this baby was going to be okay, because obviously I had Penny 4 years ago, and Penny was a healthy pregnancy. Then I got pregnant with Prim, and I got so far I just assumed everything would be okay, and then I lost her. I felt like my body was broken, and I wondered how on earth this baby would survive being so soon after giving birth. I felt like my body wasn't ready, like it was still wounded. But now I sort of think, was that more my heart wasn't ready? My heart was wounded instead of my body. But it still is a concern now, getting pregnant so soon after, you know, giving birth and things like that. I just hope that my body is strong enough. I've had lots of midwife appointments in the early stages. I've got a really fantastic midwife this time, one that I feel quite, you know, close to, because I feel like, you know, she knows a lot about Prim. She's dealt with me from the very beginning. I've not seen anyone else, whereas before in my other pregnancies I'd seen different midwives, so I feel quite close to this one, and I trust her, so I feel like she really listens. I'm consultant-led care like I was in my other pregnancies. I've got a consultant that basically, you know, dealt with us in the after care of Primrose, so again I feel quite close to her in some way, so that's nice. I also use the Channel Mum online support group, and I've shared my story a little bit on there. I've done videos. If you've seen my stillbirth story, I've talked about the experience as best I can, and yeah, I just try and talk to people on social media, on Instagram. If you don't follow me on there, I've shared quite a lot of the journey of my stillbirth on there, but I haven't actually disclosed that I'm pregnant. These videos probably won't be going live till after I've had this baby, just because it just feels like a very personal and private, very overwhelming and scary and every emotion under the sun time. It's just something that we want to sort of speak through. You know, we don't want the pregnancy, we just want our baby safe. We sort of want them out of my tummy as quick as possible, healthy and safe, and yeah, we just kind of want, instead of all the congratulations and well done in your pregnancy and things like that. We just kind of want to get the baby here, and then we can have like, we can be happy and enjoy it with everybody else, if you know what I mean. But at the moment we haven't even announced on social media or on Facebook or all the usual places that you announce that you're having a baby. You know, if we see people in the street that we know or whatever, we know they'll see my bump, but we haven't actually announced officially. I'm taking aspirin all throughout the pregnancy from the beginning to the end. That's something I was told straight away as soon as I got the 2 lines to start taking aspirin. I did take, oh, my phone keeps going off. I did take aspirin in the beginning of my pregnancy with Primrose to prevent miscarriage, but once I reached the safe point of, you know, 12-13 weeks, I did stop the aspirin. And it's kind of like a guilt thing, because you wonder if you'd have carried on, would everything have been different. Telling friends and family. When did we tell friends and family in the beginning? I think my mum knew pretty much straight away, and we didn't tell sort of friends and family till after the first scan, so I was about 13 weeks before sort of everybody else knew. In my family, like close family, my dad, Reese's parents, my nana, my cousin, things like that. Regarding Penny, obviously she was a big part of Primrose's pregnancy. She knew right from the beginning. She was very involved. She understood completely what was happening, and she was very involved with the stillbirth side of things. When, you know, Primrose was born, she came to the hospital to see Primrose, had a cuddle, all of that, and she was very involved, and she has been really amazing. But she has had her struggles. It has been really hard on her, so we were very concerned and wanted to do things properly. In this pregnancy, we didn't want to put it on her too soon. We felt like she's so young to have such a big worry on her head at, you know, 4. So we just waited to see if she would notice that my tummy was getting bigger, if she would ask questions and things like that. We kind of left it up to her to, you know, see if she would want to talk about things. And it wasn't until I reached about 22 weeks that she started commenting on, you know, my tummy and saying, you know, it's, "Mummy, your tummy is massive." And she'd start touching it, like pushing against it and things like that, because it was really firm obviously by that point. And she started to say little things. So when I reached, just before we reached 24 weeks, we decided to, you know, talk to her about it. And in the same respects as when we had to tell her about Primrose being dead and stillborn, we were very factual and very honest, but very blunt, and not going into too much detail, confusing her more than she needed to be. We just told her that, my dog's barking. Yeah, we told her that there was a baby in Mummy's tummy, that Mummy and Daddy were very happy about it. You know, we hope that he's going to be okay. The doctors are going to look after him very closely, and that we hope that he's strong and going to be healthy, and that we can hopefully bring him home. That was a very hard conversation, but she handled it amazingly well. She straight away ran to my bump, gave it a hug, and it's just been so loving towards it ever since. Another thing is that obviously being 24, nearly 25 weeks, we've not bought anything for the baby. We didn't in the first trimester. The only thing that we did buy, which we bought the same with Penny and Prim, was a teddy, and that would be their teddy to have when they were born. Penny had hers, Prim had a different one. We got hers from the White Company. So we got her a little lammy, and I felt it was only right, because I was in London again after a Channel 1 thing, that I went into the White Company and I got this baby its first teddy. And I went for a panda this time, which is completely and utterly adorable. It's really sweet. But in regards to like bits and bobs and essentials and getting things ready for the baby, we haven't bought anything. I've still got all Prim's stuff in her drawer. I've got to get like a big box to put all of that stuff in, and that's just going to be awful. Yeah, it's just really bittersweet. But yeah, we're just not ready to start buying bits and bobs for the baby. I think what we'll probably do is I'll start packing my hospital bag about 30 weeks, just so I'm ready, because I did go into labour at 34 weeks spontaneously. So it's just better to be safe, and I think the items that I'm going to buy are just going to be white and items that I can't attach myself to, just going to get the hospital bag packed and just have it done and out the way so it's ready in separate bags, one for the baby and one for me. So if things go wrong, I can just take my bag. If things are going well, then I can take both. We're not going to do the bedroom because we were renovating the house when we were pregnant with Prim, and we lost her when it was just being decorated. So the room is decorated and ready, just in a grey like everywhere else in the house, but we never actually got to add any details or decorative bits to her room. But we've since, you know, moved her things out of the room and made her like a forever space in the living room in a big cabinet, which is really, really lovely because her room, I didn't really spend much time in there anyway, so it wasn't, I didn't feel close to her when she was in her room really. So, you know, it would be nice to sit in the living room and have all of her bits and bobs in there instead of closed away upstairs. But obviously it meant that, you know, ultimately the reason we were having to sort that room out is because there might be a baby in there in a couple of weeks, well, a good few weeks to come. So just have that room ready and empty for whatever maybe just was an important thing to do, so we didn't leave it too close and have to be upset and things. But we're not going to do the room until after the baby's born because again it's just another thing that we don't want to attach ourselves to. As for the gender, do we know the gender? Yes, we do know the gender. We found out at 16 weeks. We had a private scan and we found out that this baby is a boy, which is crazy. If you haven't seen my gender reveal, then watch that. So it's really weird to do these because the baby's going to be born before you see these videos, so you already know what the gender is, so there's no point me telling you about the gender. As for things now, obviously being 24 weeks, and this is a video, you know, about the first trimester up to 24 weeks, and just talking about, you know, the whole initial from the beginning till now. I thought I would talk about the plan going forward from now because there is, you know, a solid plan in place, and you know, things have been happening further on since the first trimester. I've actually been in hospital for a couple of days last week because I was having pains and like sharpness in my bits, and it was just all very familiar feelings to when sort of days leading up to when I lost Primrose. And I took myself straight to the hospital and they found a UTI and they started treating me for that. But they kept me in for a couple of days just to rule out that everything was, you know, going wrong and things like that. So they kept me in just to sort of observe me and just make sure everything was okay. That was really assuring for me because I felt like they were really looking after me and the baby. So it was really good, and that was under my consultant's sort of lead that I would be kept in. They did bloods, they wanted to make sure everything was okay with my OC, which is weird because I haven't mentioned that, sorry. My first two pregnancies I had OC, obstetric scoliosis, blah 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 blah. I'll put it in the description. But so far in this pregnancy, up till now, I have had no problems with OC. At 10 weeks it was picked up that it started to rise up a little bit, my liver function, but since then it's completely returned to normal when everything is in the normal realms. So that's really, really good. It's just another thing we don't have to worry about because that was a big worry for me in my pregnancy with Prim because, you know, it's not a nice thing to have and it can be dangerous for the baby and for me. So it's just another weight off our shoulders not to have that pressure and worry in this pregnancy. So fingers crossed it stays at bay and it doesn't appear and show its ugly face. And then I came out of hospital. I'm now 24 plus 4 weeks and the baby is starting to move quite a lot now. The movements are actually feeling quite big and sore sometimes. It's like, ow, like the baby feels really big in there. But I'm feeling really big this time, really quickly as well. But that happened with Primrose. I ballooned really, really quickly in the first, you know, couple of weeks, but I sort of feel like I stayed that shape and that size for quite some time, so it leveled out a little bit. I feel like it's the same now, like I got really big quick and now I seem to just be slowing down a little bit and just growing nicely. Not keeping on going, but I do feel really heavy and really big this time. I feel like the more pregnancies I have, the more it takes it out of my body and the more exhausted it feels. but it's like, how is it not the other way around? The more pregnancies you have, the more used to it you should be, surely. But no, I think your body just feels more intense each time. But yeah, I feel good, like I feel healthy. It's very, very hard. It's so hard to deal with, you know, going through grief and a pregnancy, because there's just so many emotions involved. You're so worried for this baby. I really struggled to imagine them actually arriving and coming home, because, you know, so very recently I haven't been able to bring my baby home, and you know, she died, so it's very hard for me to believe that this is actually going to happen. It's very hurtful, very, you know, sore, because you just feel like it's almost like a countdown. I'm 24 weeks now and I lost Prim at 34, so it feels like, you know, I've got 10 weeks left. But, you know, hopefully it goes longer than that and baby comes at a healthy gestation and is born healthy. But it's really hard to get my head into that mindset. But I do try my best. And we are, you know, just coping, trying to do our best, taking each day as it comes. We're having scans every 2 weeks from, you know, now. We are having weekly CTG monitoring, which is the straps across the bump, and having like those tests to check for distress, to make sure the heartbeat's good, movements, all of that. And at our growth scans every 2 weeks, we're going to be having the cord checked and the placenta checked, you know, making sure the blood flow is all good. And I'm going to see either my consultant or midwife every week. So yeah, there's lots being done. And I feel like we've only just made those plans, so now I feel quite, you know, a bit more secure in the pregnancy, that it's going to be looked after, that I can sort of breathe a bit better, just knowing that they're going to be keeping a close watch. Because up until now, we just, you know, the communication with the hospital hasn't been great. The reassurance has been there, but it's not been what we've needed. But I feel like now we're getting to a point where we're getting the reassurance and the care that we need, because, you know, it's just really hard, because whether or not they say the baby's okay and they talk in very medical terms and things like that, that's not how we think. We don't think, we find it very difficult to think that this baby's going to be okay. So it's, a lot of it's to do with us and what we think, and obviously we need the reassurance that this baby's going to be cared for and looked after. So to have these scans and to have these monitoring tests while they look after the baby and they keep a close eye on the baby, they really help us out, and they're really good for us mentally. So that's, you know, been a big thing this week to have finally gotten sorted. And yeah, that's where we are at the moment. I've probably missed so much stuff out, but there is so much to talk about, so many things to discuss. I thought I would just sit down, film this video while I have a chance, because, you know, I've been trying to kick myself up the bum to film it. Reese has said to me the other day, you know, I don't know why you're not filming it, because you'll regret it if you don't. And there's so much truth in that, because I would really be heartbroken if I hadn't have documented any of this pregnancy. It's really important to me and to Reese, because filming Prim's videos, it was sort of like just a bit of fun and like lovely memories and things like that, but you don't realise how special they are till after you've experienced something like baby loss, and you just think, oh my god, what would I do if I didn't have these videos of, you know, her pregnancy and all about her and things like that. So it's just not worth thinking about. If you're pregnant too, you know, whatever gestation, because we've gone from 4 weeks to 24 in this video, just let me know how you're getting on, how you're feeling, what's going on with you, and we can have chats in the comments. And if you're pregnant after a loss, then do let me know, because it's quite comforting for me to know that, you know, others are going through this, and or if you have done in the past, then, you know, we can chat as well, and I'd love to talk to you. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.